Looking at the deep squat, initially I gave myself a 3 for this and did not put my heels on the board, thinking that I had earned a 3, but going back and looking, I instantly noticed my feet were turned out and my knees kind of dive inward as I go into the squat, and then you can definitely see a discrepancy of how I'm holding the bar further out on my right side and a little closer in on my left, so I'm compensating a little there. And then as I'm going back up, the right arm is going up higher than the left. So overall, I probably should have put my feet on the board and reassessed it. At the time, I gave myself a 3, but now looking at it, I give myself a 2. Looking at the hurdle step, I gave, starting with the left side, I gave myself a 2, and the primary reason was I could not keep the dowel parallel as I was performing it. It is definitely angled down to my left side, and then I do have a slight bend as I'm doing it on the left side. And then moving on to the right side, I also gave myself a 2 because, again, that dowel is going to be favoring that left side and going down a little bit, not remaining parallel enough for a 3. And then if I go back a second, you can see that the foot, my right foot, is turning out quite a bit as I come over, and my right hip hikes up more than it probably should as I'm doing the motion. Overall, well, both sides were slightly unbalanced, favoring the left side, and weren't good enough for a 3. Okay, so looking at the inline lunge on the left side, I gave myself a 2 for the primary reason of the dowel does not remain vertical. It's quite forward a little bit, and throughout all 3 times I did it, I could not keep it vertical, therefore giving myself a 2. I was able to make contact with my knee behind that front foot and do the rest of the requirements, but could not keep the dowel vertical. Now looking at the inline lunge on the right side, again I gave myself a 2 for the same reason as on the left side. At the bottom of the exercise, the dowel does not remain vertical, but instead there is slant, and throughout the motions I can't get it to remain vertical. The knee does touch the board and remain behind that front foot, and otherwise nothing to keep it from being a 1 or a 0, so therefore a 2. Here I recorded my shoulder clearing test, and I was able to raise my elbow up. Alright, looking at shoulder mobility, starting with the right side, or the right hand being on top, I gave myself a 3 because I measured my hand length at 7.5, and Alex seemed to measure it around 5, around 5, which would be within one hand length, giving myself a 3. Now looking at the left side, I gave myself a 2. When measured, I was at 11, and my hand length again was 7.5, so adding a half a hand length on top of the normal hand length would give just over 11, and so being at 11 would be still considered a 2, on the edge of being a 1. Alright, looking at the active straight leg raise, I gave myself a 2 because the best I could get when keeping my legs straight as best as I could was between the well, the vertical line of the malleolus was between the mid-thigh and the joint line. It was not able to clear this point, not even close, but it was still behind that joint line. Okay, now looking at the active straight leg raise on the right side, again I gave myself a 2, same reasons as the left. Not in that specific one, but about there. It's just behind that joint line, nowhere close to this point, but I am able to have the malleolus line up between the mid-thigh and the joint line. Okay, looking at the spinal clearing test, I was able to get into the position with no pain, indicated by thumbs up, all good. For the trunk stability push-up, I gave myself a 3. I was able to keep my spine pretty straight as I started to keep going with repetition. First, looking at the spinal clearing test, while I probably should have gone a little deeper, I was able before that to get into the same position except a little lower with no pain. So I cleared the test. Then now looking at the right side, I first tried to do the unilateral movement. Can't seem to keep my balance. Maybe could have tried harder, but went straight for the 2 and was able to perform. Should have brought my hand and knee back down between movements, but was able to perform the movement no matter the problem. Alright, now looking at the left side, again, tried to do same side movement, unable to keep balance. Now, going bilaterally, or diagonally, therefore, I was able to do the correct motion. Again, should have put the hand and knee down between, but still able to do the correct motion.